Advocate Glynnis Breytenbach, who's the co-chairperson of the Joint Constitutional Review Committee, joins us to expand on this. Advocate Breytenbach, congratulations are in order. Thank you so much for joining us. I mean, you say that you've been part of the committee for 10 years, and there are many outstanding matters on the table. What would you like to tackle and debate in more detail, more so as you step into this role?
Thank you. Good evening. There are serious issues that need to be debated in the Constitutional Review Committee. It's a committee that historically struggles to curate because it's such a large committee. There are 23 members, so we'll have to work hard to find a time that we can actually get some work done and to persuade members to take the committee seriously. But there are matters that have been the committee has been seized with that have rolled over for the past consecutive two administrations that I'm aware of while I've been on the committee. There are many, obviously it's a constitutional review committee, so citizens, bodies, NGOs, anybody makes a proposal for a constitutional amendment, and the committee is duty bound to consider them, and those that are then taken up for review become the subject matter of public participation, and that sets the wheels in motion for constitutional amendments. As Mr. Malema points out in his interview, there are serious matters that will be coming up before the committee in this administration, and we'll have to find a way to make this committee meet on a very regular basis and make members keen to participate.
Yeah,
it's I can't stress enough the importance of the committee.
EFF leader Julius Malema also does say, as he slams the composition, I mean, he's described it as a marriage of inconvenience between the DA and the ANC, but also spoke about the struggles that you're bound to encounter to get a quorum if you can't find each other. And as you were mentioning at the start of the question, you said historically there have been struggles because of the large number. So it sounds like it's doomed before it even begins. I mean, how are you going to navigate around that?
Well, we must find a time. Parliament has business days and non-business days. We must find a time and make an agreement with the members of the committee that if we're going to get the job done, and I fully intend to get the job done, then we must find a time that the committee sitting doesn't clash with other commitments. So traditionally, this committee sits on a Friday, and members traditionally like to try and get back to their constituencies. So, we have to find a way to make them put the business of Parliament first. The business of Parliament is the business of the citizens who voted for us to be there. So it's a job that we do need to take seriously. I don't agree with Mr. Malema's view that it's a marriage of inconvenience. Portfolio committees in Parliament, including the joint committees, are not party political bodies. They're meant to do the work of Parliament, legislators, and we do the work in the interests of all citizens. The party that you represent is really irrelevant.
What are some of these matters that have been sort of carried forward and brought down over the past few years? Because the list isn't getting any smaller. I mean, there are calls, as you and I speak, for accountability. I mean, from some parties like Action SA talking around Justice Minister Thembi Simelane over allegations around that VBS loan. And Action SA has in fact said that they've written to Parliament's Joint Constitutional Review Committee calling for reforms to bar compromised people from becoming members of Parliament. What happens in an instance such as that?
Well, certainly there are many parties, my own party being one of them, that have made submissions to the Constitutional Review Committee to consider a constitutional amendment that would bar impeached persons from serving in Parliament and serving on other bodies of Parliament. So that is one of the pieces of legislation that we'd have to consider, and I would consider that an urgent piece of legislation. Other pieces of legislation that I'm aware of that have been with the Constitutional Review Committee for many years are, for instance, the creation of a Chapter 9 institution to combat large-scale corruption and money laundering, to set up a Chapter 9 institution to deal with grand corruption. So that matter also really does require urgent attention. There are other matters regarding languages that require urgent attention that affect many people. And of course, there are land issues that require attention that affect almost all the citizens in the country. So there's no shortage of work, and the list gets longer by the day because people write in every day and request, apply for, motivate constitutional amendments. And of course, the Constitution is a living document. It's not cast in stone. It's been amended, I think, something like 21 times already. And it will continue to be amended. It needs to keep up with the changing conditions in our country. So it's a committee that deals with keeping the Constitution in tune with what's happening.
How are you going to ensure that that you speak about ensuring that you have the time to flesh out on these issues? How are you going to ensure that that is indeed what happens? Because yes, the list is long, because another matter is one of MK leader, MK Party's John Hlophe. That has also been a big one, with contradictions in the standards applied to public office eligibility. So how are you going to prioritize these issues? What goes first? Is it because, are you looking at one's issues from previous years, or are you prioritizing based on urgency, if there is such a thing?
Well, we'll prioritize on the basis of urgency, but also deal with legacy issues. So, I have a pretty good idea, having served on the committee for the past two administrations, what the legacy issues are. I have a co-chairperson. We'll have to get together. We'll have to discuss those issues, agree on, along with the secretariat of the committee, which legacy issues we will prioritize and which new matters must receive urgent attention. But the committee is set up for a 5-year period, and in 5 years, if we work diligently, we can get through a lot of work.
Mm-hmm. What approach is going to be taken here? I mean, in applying what we spoke about, Minister Simelane as well as MK Party's John Hlophe. What is the sort of approach around those matters?
Well, those are suggestions for amendments to the body of the Constitution. So the people applying for those amendments, we'll have to deal with them on the basis of who first through the door and who's got the most comprehensive piece of legislation already compiled. Deal with that, and then of course there is the public participation phase, where everybody gets an opportunity to make an input. It's for a limited time. Those are then considered, and then they're placed before the committee for a debate in the committee. We then prepare a report that goes to the National Assembly and to the National Council of Provinces, and they debate it there, and a decision is taken. So it's not a process that takes a day or two. It's a long process. But as I say, if we work diligently, we can get a lot of work done.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us this evening. We are going to leave it there for now. Advocate Glynnis Breytenbach was the co-chair of the Joint Constitutional Review Committee, expanding there on the work that lies ahead.